Part 2 of the 29th of May 2025. I was about to begin reading to you about All Hallows Eve, but we got chopped off just as I said the word suicide, which is interesting, but it's because I had my keyboard on top of my laptop, my external keyboard, and it's very sensitive, and if only Lena gets it, it blips us off. I think that's what happened. Anyway, I could get paranoid and conspiracy theory about it, but I'm sure that's all that happened. Anyway, so let us begin. Again, welcome to Titania's realm at Sacred Space, where life is weird and magical and beautiful. And every day, the Tanya, the Mama T, is co-creating with the gods, the good folk, the Fae, and the ancestors that love me. Oh, isn't that sweet? Well, got to put a positive spin on things, babies. The multiverse is immense, and got to co-create with somebody. Somebody out there has my back, babies, and it's astonishing at times, but I've spent a lifetime in service to the Holy One and all manifestations, so it's nice to see when that energy actually does have my back. I get miraculous evidence of it. Always very delightful and also humbling, and a reminder that of who I am. A spirit having a physical experience, not the other way around, you understand? Right. Halloween now is mainly celebrated by children, especially in the United States, although it's made a bit more of a resurgence in recent times since this book was written in 1970. But their weird and grinning masks echo the terrors inspired by the old festival of All Hallows, when the dead came out from their graves to walk the earth. All Hallows Eve. One of my favourite festivals, actually. All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, was originally a festival of fire and the dead and the powers of darkness. It is the evening of 31st of October, the night before the Christian festival of All Hallows or All Saints' Day, which falls on the 1st of November. All Hallows Day commemorates the saints and martyrs, and was first introduced in the 7th century. Its date was changed from 13th May to 1st of November in the following century, probably to make it coincide with and Christianize a pagan festival of the dead. They used to do that a lot, try and steal from pagans and subvert their law and make it Christian. Cancel culture, the equivalent of, anyway, well, more or less anyway. Let me think about that. Is it cancel culture? Riding on the coattails of someone else's traditions and then renaming it and rebranding it and making it your own? Some kind of plagiarism anyway. All Souls Day in the Roman Catholic calendar, is on the 2nd of November. It is marked by prayers for the souls of the dead. Very important practice. We do that a lot in Judaism too. Pray for the souls of our dead. It is only in recent times that Halloween has been reduced to a minor jollification for children. Before the coming of Christianity, the pagan Celts in northern Europe held two great fire festivals each year: Beltane on the eve of the 1st of May and Samhain on the eve of the 1st of November, to mark the beginning of summer and winter. And I need to remind you, Brisbane people, that because we live in the southern hemisphere, when we celebrate Halloween on the 31st of October, it's actually a winter festival, and we should actually be celebrating Beltane, which on our side of the planet is the summer festival. And when we celebrate Halloween with the rest of the world on 31st of October, we're actually celebrating the wrong festival for our climate and our hemisphere. But I still do it anyway, just to be in alignment with everyone in the northern hemisphere. Ultimately, it's the thought that counts, is it not? But our Samhain should be celebrated on the 1st of May and Beltane on the 1st of November. Anyway, these dates have no connection with the equinoxes or solstices, or with sowing and reaping, but seem to date from very early times when Celtic society depended heavily on cattle for subsistence. Samhain marked the beginning of winter and was a time when the cattle were brought in from pasture to spend the winter under cover. It was also the beginning of a new year. Because the Celtic day started at sunset and ran to the following sunset, which is the same as in Judaism, our days start at sunset too. The festival began on the eve of 1st of November. Sir James Fraser said in The Golden Bough that throughout Europe, Halloween, the night which marks the transition from autumn to winter, seems to have been of old the time of year when the souls of the departed were supposed to revisit their old homes in order to warm themselves by the fire and to comfort themselves with the good cheer provided for them in the kitchen or the parlour by their affectionate kinsfolk. It was, perhaps, a natural thought that the approach of winter should drive the poor, shivering, hungry ghosts from the bare fields and the leafless woodlands to the shelter of the cottage with its familiar fireside. I disagree, because they're spirits and they feel neither cold nor heat. They're in a completely different dimension to us. But I guess for physical folk, they like the idea that they're warming themselves at your fire and making things go bump in the night, making themselves, their presence known. It's been very quiet in my house lately, very quiet. Ever since I made Charlie's beak under full instruction from the entity, I haven't had any, I don't think so anyway, I haven't had any interruptions or visitations from David Davidson. Maybe that entity drove him out. Well, might be a good thing. It's time, long past time, he went into the light. Kept telling him to do so, but he was stubborn. He was relentlessly hanging on to me for some odd reason that makes no sense to anyone, including, no doubt, God himself. Well, I can't speak for God, but it was all a bit weird people of that. Anyway, where were we? Bonfires on high hills were a conspicuous feature of the old Halloween rites, though in England they have been gradually transferred to 5th of November to mark the arrest of Guy Fawkes, which was another of my favourite festivals we used to celebrate. Not so much here in Australia, but we celebrated it a lot when I was a child in New Zealand, growing up in New Zealand, with many wonderful Guy Fawkes nights. In the 1880s, a traveller in Scotland counted 30 fires on the hilltops between Dunkeld and Aberfeldie, each with a circle of people dancing around it. Down to the end of the 19th century, fires blazed on the hills in Lancashire on the eve of All Hallows. In North Wales, every family built a bonfire, and each person threw into the ashes a white stone which he had previously marked. Prayers were said round the fire, and next morning, if a stone was missing, it was thought that its owner would die before he saw another Halloween. I wouldn't have been participating in that. It's a bit too much like pointing the bone or jinxing yourself, isn't it? It's like, I would not have liked that at all. That's because Mama T is constantly having near-death situations. It's getting a bit astonishing even by my standards, people of Earth. Anyway, things seem to have settled down recently, I guess. Maybe. It's hard to tell. Right. The same belief existed in the Scottish Highlands, and many forms of fortune-telling were a traditional feature of Halloween, probably because it was the Celtic New Year's Day, and so a suitable time for predicting the events of the coming year. In Aberdeenshire and Buchan in the 19th century, boys collecting fuel for the bonfire would ask for a peat to burn the witches. Bloody Scots. They really are a bit weird about witches, aren't they? They either love them or they hate them. Oh, you have to love. I see that they've created a special tartan though in honour of all the women that were burned as witches, just for being midwives or herbalists or wise women, or a woman that didn't want to shtuck the local town councillor or whatever they did wrong, they got burned as witches. So they've created a special tartan in commemoration of, what was it, 567 or something Scottish women that were innocent burnt as witches. And to apply for the tartan, you've got to get special permission to the Council of Witches or something in Scotland. But I'm very tempted, I bet you it's hellishly expensive though, but I'm very tempted to get permission, get a tartan made in that, because I have the ancestry, if not the actual constant practice, and I think it's a worthwhile thing to clad oneself in honour of all the women that were persecuted for no good reason, but that they were intelligent or witty or clever women or talented or a bit magical. So if you ever see me wearing that tartan, it'll be one of my marks of defiance, like my t-shirt that says, "Deify, I defy." Black bees. Someone's got to stand in the face of evil and literally wave their banner. It used to drive my mother mental. She used to say to me viciously, "Why is your head always on the chopping block? Why can't you just be silent? Why can't you just lie low? Why can't you just stay out of trouble?" I said, "What? Be a victim? You want me to be a victim? You want me to be complicit in my own victimhood? Fuck that." So, it's kind of strange her trying to turn me into some kind of victim, since she herself was a survivor and could be quite fierce. Ah well, narcissists, they're always trying to tear your wings off and grind you down to nothing so they can feel good about themselves for 5 minutes, and ultimately they're hollow and empty inside and have nothing really to offer, and they're just envious and petty of anyone else that's got a little bit more courage than they have, a little bit of honour and decency too. Just saying. It's true though. It's true. Right. So decent and honourable. I even helped that evil hag, my own mother, who had descent into Alzheimer's, by going to her assistance. And she was granny dumped at the old people's home at Wynnum. So there you have it. Right, where were we? When the fire was lit, the boys danced round it, shouting, "Fire, fire, burn the witches." Ooh. When the fire died down, the ashes were scattered, and when the last spark had gone out, the cry went up in the ominous darkness, "The devil take the hindmost," and they all ran for their lives. In Wales, the cropped black sow would take the hindmost. I wonder what a cropped black sow is. Sounds a bit ominous. Well, I'll just read the little insert here. Halloween. The mouth of the night is the choice hour of the sluat, the host of the dead, whose feet never touch the earth as they go drifting in the wind till the day of burning. Of the fuat, the spirit of terror that frightens people. Just fix that. Oh yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Of the fuat, the spirit of terror that frightens folk out of the husk of their hearts. Of the washer who sits with herself in the twilight. Of the slim green-coated ones, the water horse and whatnot. The light that is shadowless, colourless, softer than moonlight, is ever the light of their liking. At the mouth of the night, along the watercourses, byways, that at the hour of dusk and of lateness you had best be shunning, you are like to meet them. To west of houses they pass. What to do, who shall say? Their ways being nowise human. Amy Murray, Father Allen's Island. Right, just going to take a little break for a moment because I want to put on the main light and I want to grab something to munch on. Munchy, munchy, munchy. I'll be back. I'll be back like the fucking Terminator. But just cover my bird for a moment. Beautiful boys. Getting quite cool, people of Earth. It's the 29th of May, but we're really starting to feel quite the beginnings of winter. It's getting quite coolish. I complain about summer being too hot because here in Brisbane it really goes on for 9 months. Spring, summer and autumn, spring and summer and autumn really almost blurred into one. And then we have 3 months where it's cold, but really it's not that bad. It's not as bad as other countries. I'm not complaining. It's the constant incessant heat can be a bit grinding though. When I first migrated to Brisbane here in 1st of August 1988, and I joined the, in those days it was called Temple Shalom, Beit Knesset Shalom, it became later on BPJC or something, and then they became, what do they call themselves now? Beit Or, same shit, different day. Anyway, but when I first joined that congregation, back in, would have been around about October, I think, as we were settling into a new country. And anyway, it was an elderly gentleman. He was a lovely man, very lovely, kind, one of the few people to be really welcoming and kind to me, actually, in that congregation. Even from the very beginning, there were people who didn't like me because of my fucking Slavic face, am I right? Anyway, it's ridiculous how I was treated. Really evil, but also ridiculous, the othering that went on. But anyway, that particularly elderly gentleman was very sweet and kind to me. And his name was Boaz Bloomberg. Wherever you are, Boaz, I remember you with affection and gratitude. Sweet man he was. And he was actually an optometrist by profession, I believe, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure he was an optometrist. But of course, elderly, long time retired. And he said, "Oh, you're new to Brisbane, to living in Queensland, Tanya, Mrs. Aarons." I said, yes. I said, I came here and I lived here for a month in 1981. I lived out at Ipswich with my father. Ipswich, he said. What a dreadfully hot place Ipswich is. I said, yes, it was. It was 45 degrees and nearly died. He nodded. I have to politely inform you. I still laugh to this day because he was delightful. He was earthy. He was real. He was like me. That's why we got on. I have to politely inform you, Tanya, he said, that I need to welcome you to hell. Hell, I said. Hell? I had all these starry-eyed notions that I'd come to paradise and it was the subtropics and people would be kind and welcoming and inclusive and love me, and that I'd live happily ever after, and that I'd have true friends and, wonderful supportive community and sweetness and joy and good health and abundance in my life. Am I right? Like we all pray for when we come to a new country or a new town or start a new life somewhere. You always hope for the best, It's human nature. So, the illustrious and kind and sweet Mr. Bloomberg says, yes, Tanya, you've come to live in hell. What makes you think it's hell? I said to him. Surely it can't be hell. Well, the never truer words were spoken by that gentleman. He spoke very wisely indeed. Probably saw my future and knew exactly what I was signing up for. Dear goddess. Anyway, he says to me, yes, I need to inform you politely about the climate here. You're in for quite a shock. Am I said. I know it gets hot in summer. Well, it gets hot out at Ipswich anyway, I said, in consternation. Who said, you've come to live in a place where 9 months of the year you live in absolute hell, and 3 months of the year you live in paradise. And there were a few people milling around, listening in, chuckling, nodding sagely. Whatever do you mean, said I. He said, 9 months of the year, it's varying degrees of hot, hot and hotter, followed by stinking humidity in February and March, so more hot, different kind of hot, but equally unpleasant kind of hot. And then he said you get a reprieve for 3 months when it's cold. I said, oh dear God. In those days I hadn't started invoking the Godheads yet, I was still into the more patriarchal aspect of the Godhead. But all is oneness, people of earth. All is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. All is one. Anyway, I said, I don't know what you mean. He said, come and see me 1 year from today and we'll swap notes. And then everyone around him that was sort of listening in, they were giggling so much. I thought, oh, they're winding me up because I'm a foreigner, new to this country, and they're having a wind up. He said, trust me, Tanya, he said, it'll take you 12 months to fully acclimatise and then you won't notice. You will notice the difference. So winter came the following year. We'd arrived on the 1st of August, like in the throes of winter, right? And we went to the expo, which was a big exhibition, international exhibition they had here, hosted here in Brisbane. It was the making of Brisbane, that exhibition actually. Put Brisbane on the map. My mother, who went everywhere with me because she was a narcissist and had to be like hanging off me like a bloody limpet and trying to destroy all my friendships and acquaintanceships with people, and it was just pernicious. But anyway, I didn't look at it that way in those days because I was young and naive and I didn't understand what was really going on. But anyway, she went everywhere with us, my husband and my little babies, which on the surface was harmless enough, you know. So we were walking around Expo together and admiring all the different pavilions from all the different countries, and I was really loving that. Really enjoyed that. And we were looking around first, well, it wouldn't have been the 1st of August, but it would have been not long, maybe a few weeks that we'd been here. And we're looking around, and my mother and I and my children, we were all dressed in quite summery clothing because we felt hot compared to, you know, Wellington, New Zealand weather. And so we were looking around and people with great amazement and curiosity that they were all rugged up in, you know, woolen jumpers and jackets and beanies and boots and thick socks. And I said to my mother, I said, what's wrong with the people that live here? It's not cold. It's actually a lovely temperature. And she says, I don't understand it either, darling. Why they are so cold? And even my husband said, I don't understand why everyone's all rugged up. He had a nice t-shirt on, you know, one of those smart t-shirts with a collar, like a polo type t-shirt he used to wear. Anyway, that was the first year, the first winter which we arrived at. The following year, 12 months later, true to, because I would try to keep my word with people, we went up to Boaz at temple Shabbat morning. I said, Boaz, yes, Tanya, you are right. Oh, what am I right about? I said, we do live in hell. Oh, you've acclimatized then, have you? I said, I'm bloody cold. I said, I was hot this time last year. I was laughing at all the people rugged up in their woolies and jackets and thinking that they were weird, not understanding that they were actually laughing at us, that we stuck out as like long dogs, as the aliens, because we were dressed in summer gear and not feeling the cold at all. And he laughed. He said, I told you it would take you a year to acclimatise, and then you will understand my words. And anyway, blessed be Boaz. We've got winter coming, and I kind of feel good. I kind of feel good about this winter. A couple of years ago I made a video on YouTube saying this is the winter of my discontent, and it proved to be quite prescient because my dog died and everything fucking went wrong that year. Oh dear goddess. Anyway, this year I feel uplifted and positive. Please God, we shall have more upliftments and positivity long into the future, people of Earth. Because I'm looking forward to that, and I kind of deserve it. So, let us continue reading about All Hallows Eve. From the wintry grave. Originally, the bonfires were probably meant to provide light and heat, which would help the sun through the winter, when it seemed to grow feeble under the attack of darkness and cold. Winter called to mind the chill blackness of the grave, and in many parts of Europe, not only in Celtic countries. All Hallows Eve, as the beginning of winter and the dying time of the old year, was a night when the dead stalked the countryside. Offerings of food and drink were put out for ghosts. They passed by to the west always, the direction of the dying sun at sunset. The fairies could also be seen on All Hallows Eve, moving from one fairy hill to another with the music of bells and elf horns. They were sometimes identified with the dead. There is an old Irish story about a young man who incautiously stayed out on Halloween and met a band of fairies. They welcomed him cheerfully and gave him wine and fairy gold. What could go wrong, people are there? But when he looked closely at them, he saw that they were neighbours who had died, some of them many years before. They shrieked with laughter when he recognised them and tried to tuck him into their dance. Terrified, he struggled against them until he dropped unconscious. He woke in the morning lying inside a stone circle, his arms black and blue with the marks of fingers. Sounds like a most unpleasant experience. Darker and colder creatures still roamed through the night on Halloween. Demons and hobgoblins, witches who straddled broomsticks or shank bones. Never heard of that one before. Ouch. I wouldn't want any dead meat between my legs, would you, people of Earth? I mean, at least a broomstick is phallic too, but at least it's a piece of wood or from the tree. But shank bones. Flew in sieves or eggshells or rode on coal black horses. That would be more fun, riding on a horse. I'm very fond of horses. The fires helped to keep them off, and at Balmoral, in Queen Victoria's time, the effigy of a hideous old witch was ceremoniously burned on a bonfire at Halloween. The guisers went from house to house, singing and dancing. Their blood-curdling masks and grotesque costumes may have been meant to keep evil at bay, or, more likely, were a visible representation of the ghosts and goblins that lurked in the night. The masks have now been transferred to the children who, in the United States, visit the neighbours for the food offerings which once belonged to the dead, or play tricks akin to the legendary destructiveness of witches and imps abroad on this night. Before we finish with the last couple of paragraphs, I'll show you the photos. Modern witch ceremony with a cauldron. Double, double, boil and bubble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Oh no, I got it wrong. Double, double, toil and trouble. Fire burn, cauldron bubble. Had quite enough of toil and trouble, have we not? But my bracelet is starting to happen. And I put in a lot of work and I'm very, very interested in myself. I'm going to swing on my chair. Ready? I'm going to do the swing. I'm stuck on the carpet. Whee! Because Miss Five wants to swing on the chair. Right. Witches' Revels. Miss Five is my pristine alter ego who's the most powerful of all my personae, and don't ever piss off Miss Five. Have you ever taken candy from a baby in a supermarket? It's akin to that. But anyway, I'm joking about that to a certain degree. She's not that bad, but she kind of, when she wants something, she wants it and she wants it now. That's why I throw tantrums with my own self when I fail at my jewellery, because I'm like, have this vision in my head that I'm going to complete the task, and then when it goes wrong, it's a delay, and I have to go back and redo it and redo it, and it's Miss Five that throws the epic wobbly, because she gets disgusted with me that I haven't been able to pull the thing together, make it happen. Anyway. Witches' Revels. Oh, no, I forgot to show you the other picture. Children with Halloween pumpkin masks or jack-o'-lanterns, a name for the will-o'-the-wisp. I always have a lovely Halloween here every year. Children come from all over the neighbourhood. They go all around the neighbourhood door knocking. It's always fun for me, as much for them when they come to my door on Halloween. Right, Witches' Revels. Real witches held high revel on All Hallows Eve, and this was one of the ways in which they preserved pagan customs. The witches of Aberdeen in 1598, it's a long time ago, said that they had danced round the market cross at midnight on Halloween, and also round an old grey stone at the foot of the hill at Craigluch, the devil himself playing music before them. Makes me think of that song, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's a Southern American song. I love that song. Modern witches have kept up the tradition. In 1963, for instance, a journalist watched the Halloween festivities of a coven of witches at St. Albans. The high priestess, naked except for a string of beads, and watched by the other 12 members of the coven, drew a circle on the ground with the point of her magic knife, which is called an athame, that's used for ritual only. A bowline is actually used for cutting and preparing herbs and various things, but an athame is ritual. A candle burned in each quarter of the circle, with a fifth candle on an altar in the middle. The reporter did not reveal the details of the ceremony, but he did record a remark of the high priestess. "We are not anti-Christian," she said. "We just have other means of spiritual satisfaction. It's hard to describe that satisfaction." Right, the next two entries at the bottom of this page are very, very short, a paragraph each. Alligator. Indian tribes of the tropical Americas have many gods in the form of alligators native to those regions. In North America, the Choctaws venerated the alligator and would not kill it. The Chickasaws devoted a major ceremonial dance to it. In the southern United States, alligator teeth were used to help a baby's teething, to cure snakebite, and to keep witches away. Always picking on the poor bloody witches. Honestly, it's a bit much, people of Earth. Get a room. An old North Carolina superstition says that alligator gall helps sore eyes and that the fat can cure cancer. Interesting. Aloes. Fragrant wood, valued in antiquity for its pleasing smell and recommended in magical textbooks for operations connected with Jupiter and the Sun. Bitter aloes, made from a different plant, is a purgative drug and therefore a symbol of spiritual cleansing or purgatory. Right, how much longer shall we go on, my beautiful ones? My angels, my sweethearts, my darlings, my ordinary mortals that are interested in the occult, and my magical ones who probably know far more than I could even dream about in all the world's philosophies. But if you know more and you come to my channel and sit and enjoy these with me, then blessed be. Right, I've got a new addiction and it's not good because they're fattening and I can't stop, but Harvest Snaps, baked pea crisps. What can I say? Alright, we'll read until I get sick of reading or too tired, whichever comes first. Christian priests forbade the use of runes. Of course they did, eviscerating the pagan ways again. The letters of the old Northern European alphabet, because the runes were so closely connected with paganism and magic. This is one example of the age-old belief in the magic power of letters, which survives to this day in numerology, a way of telling your fortune from the letters of your name. Prehistoric forms of writing from Australia, Italy, Crete, and California. They were probably connected with magical and ritual practices. Just show you the pictures, my darlings. The pictures. You can see the Australian one has a platypus and a kangaroo and an emu, some kind of fish. Probably meant to be a shark. Oh, and the picture below here was of the fragrant aloes. Right, we continue on. No, before we start reading, we'll read the little blurb at the bottom here. Your name and you. Why were your parents so anxious to select a suitable name for you at the time of your birth? Because your name signifies your destiny, and is the medium through which your character is expressed. It is the signboard or blueprint along your road to success. I know I had to roll my eyes there. Your parents sensed this and unconsciously named you for the particular character you were destined by birth to express. J. Walton Jordan, from Your Number and Destiny. Alphabet. Writing is a mysterious and magical art. In many primitive and ancient societies, it was assumed that the gods must have invented this marvellous method of capturing speech, and turning it into visible form. In the ancient world, the fact that most people could not write or read what was written, and that those who could were usually priests, brought writing a reputation as a great hidden wisdom, and its use in inscriptions and on the tombs of the dead gave it a close connection with the other world. The Egyptians called the picture writing which they carved on the walls of tombs and temples the speech of the gods. The Greeks called the Egyptian letters hieroglyphics, sacred carvings. Because they came from the gods and because they were pictures, the hieroglyphs had magical powers. One of the basic laws of magic is that a picture or a symbol does not merely refer to the thing it represents. It actually is the thing. In Egypt, for instance, a hieroglyph, which was a picture of an animal, sometimes had to be used in an inscription inside a tomb. It was feared that it might come alive and the animal might eat the food provided for the dead man, or even eat the dead man himself. To prevent this, the hieroglyph would be left incomplete or drawn in two halves, so that the whole animal could not appear. Seems logical. The whispering runes. The letters used in Northern Europe in the early centuries after Christ were also powerful in magic. I hope my friend, even though I'm not following his band anymore because I'm broigus with one of them, but anyway, I hope my friend, one of my friends in that band, is putting his runes to good use that I specifically made for him, for his healing and his own brand of magic and his own empowerment. To you, my darling, blessed be. They were called runes, which comes from a root meaning mystery, secret, surviving in the modern German word raunen, to whisper. The art of writing with a pen did not reach northern Europe until Christian missionaries brought it with them from the south, and the runes were carved on wood, tombstones, jewels, swords, and armour, and other equipment. Inside a tomb, it was thought runes would keep evil forces away from the dead, or sometimes they were meant to stop the corpse from creeping out of its grave. They were cut on tombstones to prevent people from destroying them or stealing them for their own dead. Part of an inscription on a Swedish gravestone says, "This is the meaning of the runes. I hid here magic runes, undisturbed by evil witchcraft. He who destroys this monument shall die in misery by magic art." This inscription would serve by itself to bring the gravestone's destroyer to a miserable end. Because in magic, a symbol is what it stands for. To write down a wish or a curse in symbols automatically gives effect to what is written. In the same way, runes were engraved on swords to make them irresistible in battle, as in the case of a sword named Mar. May Mar spare nobody. The poem called Havamal, Utterance of the High One, says that runes have the power to bring the dead to life. A 12th spell I know when I see aloft upon a tree a corpse swinging from a rope, then I cut and paint runes so that the man walks and speaks with me. To win mastery of the runes, the god Odin had to hang for 9 days and nights in agony, transfixed by a spear to the world tree, the ash Yggdrasil. At the end of this torture, he saw the runes and seized them. I peered downwards, I took up the runes, screaming I took them, then I fell back. Christian priests condemned the use of runes because they were so closely linked with pagan religion and magic. As late as the 17th century in Iceland, people were burnt to death because they had been found in possession of runes. Just kind of insane, but those were the burning times, people of Earth. To destroy a language, you destroy an entire people and their culture, by the way. That's why I'm bringing back the runes. It's a matter of principle. Development, I'm not single-handedly bringing them back. They're just coming back into our consciousness again. The old times, when people lived closer to the earth and in more harmonic resonance with the earth, so they didn't obliterate themselves with stupidity of the last 5 years, by the way. Development of the alphabet. The earliest known forms of writing go back to about 20,000 BC and were drawn on the walls of caves. They were pictures of animals and men and also geometric shapes and patterns. Nobody can be sure of their meaning, but they probably had some religious and magical significance. Broadly speaking, the development of systems of writing runs through 3 main stages. First comes pictographic writing, which means simply drawing pictures. For instance, a circle with a dot in the middle means the sun, and a star shape means star. Next, in ideographic writing, the picture's meaning broadens out to include ideas associated with the thing shown. Now a circle with a dot in the middle means not only the sun, but also light and heat, which come from the sun, and day, over which the sun presides. And star means not only star, but heaven and God. The trouble with ideographic writing is not merely that the same picture may have several different meanings, which causes confusion, but also that there are a great many words in any language which cannot easily be represented in pictures. The next step is the introduction of phonetic symbols, which stand for sounds. Phonetic writing can be extraordinarily complicated. There are some 50,000 Chinese symbols, which stand for different sounds or combinations of sounds. The triumph of the development of an alphabet, a triumph of simplicity, is the use of a small number of symbols, which can be used in combination with each other to represent all the words of a language. For this achievement, David Dirringer says, simple as it now seems to us, the inventor or the inventors are to be ranked among the greatest benefactors of mankind. It is not surprising that this brilliant invention was regarded long ago as sacred and magical. Dirringer's theory is that all the world's alphabets are descended from one original alphabet invented somewhere in the area of Syria and Palestine, the land bridge between the great civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia, in the period 1750 to 1500 BC. I'll just show you the pictures before we continue reading. The Björketorp stone, Sweden, the inscription of runes, the letters once used in Northern Europe, is intended to kill whoever disturbs the monument. The young Napoleon Bonaparte and the old. Modern numerologists turn your name into a number which supposedly reveals your character and future. A change of name means a change of destiny, and Napoleon is the stock example. When he dropped the U from Buonaparte, he altered his number from 1, standing for power and victory, to 4, the number of defeat. Goodness, had he realised that, he would never have done such a foolish thing. Here we have a picture of him. Young and old. Doesn't look that old. Only looks in his 40s or, yes, perhaps early 50s there. Hard to tell. Hebrew and the making of the world. My middle name is Desiree. My sister named me Desiree. She'd just finished reading Desiree, which was the first fiancée of Napoleon Bonaparte that he ditched for that harlot Josephine. But anyway, I won't get too upset about it because my namesake, Desiree Clary, who was supposed to marry Napoleon Bonaparte, he kind of took advantage of her because she was a very young girl at the time. The shit. But anyway, she was extremely intelligent and clever and actually often gave him advice on many of his war campaigns. And she ended up marrying the King of Sweden. So she became the Queen of Sweden. Apparently she was a very successful Queen of Sweden. So she didn't do too badly after all. Just saying. Although I've got no intention of marrying the King of Sweden. I think he's already taken, so we don't have to worry about such grandiose aspirations, do we? But anyway, interesting. And my first name, Tanya, which in Hebrew loosely translates, if you play with the grammar a bit, as God gives. I was named after the beauty queen here that won Miss Universe or Miss World, I can't remember, that year in 1965, Tanya Rook. So I was actually named after her. They must have had plans on me somehow becoming a beauty queen, but I'm too short and fat to ever be, a supermodel. So there was that. Oh, smallest violin. Diddly, diddly, diddly. Desiree, who was cursed to never have, success with the man of her dreams, Napoleon, but blessed because she ended up Queen of Sweden. So there's hope for me yet, isn't there? There's hope for me yet. Although at 60 years of age, it's not very bloody like. I'll just eat some more and comfort myself with that thought. It's not so bad. I'm enjoying life, no matter what, no matter who. Right. Hebrew and the making of the world. In the European magical tradition, far and away, should have a proper dinner, shouldn't I? I can't live on bloody chips. What does Miss Five say? Do what you want, whatever, Mama T. I bought a chicken and pasta salad for my dinner. I was going to make chicken soup from the cooked chicken, but I could have some chicken and pasta salad. Maybe later when I finish reading. In the European magical tradition, far and away the most important of all alphabets is the Hebrew, which was written from right to left and had 22 letters, all of which were consonants. I need a cup of tea. Right, it's starting to close off again. By the gods. No vowels, our A, E, I, O and U, were represented. The same is true of the Phoenician alphabet, from which our own alphabet is descended, by way of the Greek, Etruscan and Latin alphabets. The importance of the Hebrew alphabet comes from the fact that God is described in the Bible as creating the world by expressing commands and words. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. It was believed that when God pronounced the word light, light itself instantly sprang into existence. And all the other things which God made came into existence as he pronounced their names. I'm talking about vibration and resonance and frequency, all the things that Nikola Tesla said are the fabric of the universe. But what language did God speak? And here they've put, obviously, Hebrew. Did he? Did he really? Or was he beyond language? You need to think about that one. You need to think about that, people there. And so the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet came to be regarded as supremely powerful magical instruments through which the whole universe had been created and which contained the secret of the structure of all things, the building blocks of all existence. This belief was one of the basic ideas of the Kabbalah, a complicated web of mystical and magical theories, originally Jewish but adopted with enthusiasm by non-Jewish occultists, from Reuchlin and Agrippa in the 16th century to Aleister Crowley in the 20th. See Kabbalah. The Kabbalistic Sefer Yetzirah, Book of Creation, written by an unknown author probably between the 3rd and 6th centuries AD, describes, if its obscure and at times impenetrable language can properly be said to describe anything, how God created the world by means of numbers and letters. The numbers from 1 to 10 and the 22 Hebrew letters, the foundation of all things. God drew the letters, hewed them, combined them and weighed them, interchanged them, and through them produced the whole creation and everything that is destined to be created. In Kabbalistic theory, God created the world by extending his own being. The Sefer Yetzirah says that the production of all things from the 22 letters is the proof that they are all parts of one body. In other words, the letters are parts of one body, the alphabet, and all created things by means of the letters are also parts of one body, which is God. It is not a long step from this to reach the equation. God equals the universe equals the Hebrew alphabet. Some theorists saw the Hebrew letters as parts or aspects of God, and so they were suitable objects of meditation, which is called Hitbonenut in Kabbalah, concentrating on the holy letters of the alphabet. For a full understanding of the letters and all their innumerable combinations, if such a thing were possible, would be a full understanding of God, which technically as Jews we're not actually allowed to do. The paradox. Arranged in different combinations with each other, the letters threw light on the complexities of God's nature and equally on the complexities of the universe. To magicians, Jewish and non-Jewish, the Hebrew letters were sources of power, the divine power which created the world. Magicians employed them in suitable combinations to bring the power of God to bear on summoning up a spirit or reviving a corpse or finding buried treasure. An example is the powerful word agla, which is made of the initial letters of the Hebrew phrase Ayit Gadol Le'olam Adonai. Thou art mighty forever, O Lord. Agla was written inside magic circles to give the magician mighty power to control spirits, and it had a special use as a fire extinguisher. If written on a wooden plate and thrown into a fire, it would put the fire out. Medieval German Jews explained this use of the word by expanding it into the initial letters of Allmächtiger Gott lösch aus, Almighty God, extinguish it. Though the Hebrew alphabet was particularly important, the older principle of the magic of letters applied to other alphabets as well. The word azot for mercury, a metal frequently used in alchemy, comes from the Arabic name of mercury, al-Za'uq. But some alchemists thought that azot was a peculiarly effective name for the metal because it combines the first and last letters of the Hebrew, Greek, Roman, and Arabic alphabets, and so contains the total magic of all four. See also gematria and names. Letters and correspondences. Observing that God had used the 22 Hebrew letters to create the world, some Jewish and Christian commentators succeeded in calculating that in the first chapter of Genesis, God is said to create 22 things, obviously corresponding to the 22 letters. Because the letters were used to make everything that exists, they contain all truth and all wisdom. And Josephus, a Jewish historian of the 1st century AD, and other commentators calculated that the Old Testament, which are the 5 books of the Torah, Genesis through to Leviticus, I believe. Was it Deuteronomy? Anyway. Through which God reveals himself to men. Note the patriarchal language here again. Has 22 books, though it required some ingenious juggling to reach this figure. It is probably not by chance that there are 22 principal cards or major trumps in the tarot pack, which are also believed to contain all the secrets of the universe. See tarot. Following up the theory that the universe was created by means of the letters, the Sefer Yetzirah classifies various phenomena of the world in terms of the letters they belong to. 12 of the Hebrew letters are connected with the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 months of the year, 12 organs of the body, and 12 properties, including sight, hearing, smell, sexual love, work, anger, laughter, and sleep. I only count 8 there, but anyway, semantics. Seven other letters are assigned to the 7 directions: east, west, north, south, above, below, and the centre. The 7 planets known in antiquity, the 7 days of the week, the 7 gates of perception, the mouth plus 2 ears, eyes and nostrils. Which I only count as 6, but anyway, it's driving me mad, people do. Driving me a bit mad. The 7, oh no, that would be right. 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 eyes, 2 ears, it's 4, 2 nostrils is 6, and the mouth is 7. Okay, that does work out mathematically correct. And 7 pairs of opposites, including life and death, peace and war, riches and poverty, wisdom and folly. The 3 remaining letters, Mem, Shin and Aleph, are called mother letters. They are connected with 3 elements: or basic materials of which everything is made: water, fire, and air, with three divisions of the universe: earth, heaven, and the atmosphere between them, with three seasons of the year: winter, summer, and spring, and with three parts of the body: belly, head, and lungs. A system of correspondences of this kind, a classification of different phenomena into a set number of categories, as if, to use Aleister Crowley's analogy, you had to sort all the papers on your desk into a given number of pigeonholes, may seem peculiar, but it is part of the old attempt to make sense of the world by classifying things in groups, just as we classify animals by species for a better understanding of how the animal world works. And there was a logic to the connections. The letter Aleph, our A, was not a vowel in Hebrew, but a breathing, a rough exhalation of breath, like a and it was natural to connect it with the lungs, which breathe, and with air, especially as it was thought that the shape of the letter came from an Egyptian hieroglyph representing an eagle, the lord of the air. Similarly, Mem, our letter M, was connected with water because the letter was adapted from the Egyptian hieroglyph for water. In magic, correspondences are used not merely to understand the world, but to control it. A commentary on the Sefer Yetzirah assigns the letter Kaf, our K, to Venus, the planet of the love goddess, otherwise known in Greek as Aphrodite, in Voodoo as Azuli, and so on and so forth. A magician who accepted this might wear the letter embroidered on his robes, or hold it drawn on parchment in his hand during a magical operation to make a woman submit to him. Don't try that at home, boys. Not around the Tanya anyway. Just saying. I mean, you've got to laugh. But magicians do that kind of thing. Interfere with free will and other people's energies. Naughty, naughty, very naughty. Particularly if he noticed that in Greek, K is the first letter of the word for the female genitals, Katias, which he would say was no accident. See also correspondences. It's one of the things that idiot David Davidson said to me, when we were interested in each other, let's just put it delicately. Said to me, come to me in love and submit. The chutzpah of it, the absolute chutzpah, the nerve, the gall, the audaciousness, the temerity. What did I tell her? I submit to no man but God, and even him I'll argue with. Sad but true. It's probably why I'm still single 30 years later, but never mind. 25 years later. 26. I can't remember what year it was he said that to me. Must have been 1998. 28 years later. I'd rather be single though, and be free and wild and untrammelled and uncontained and untamed and undestroyed by a fucking man. Rather be single any time than have to live with an arsehole ever again. Dear goddess. Anyway, he used to like to taunt me too. Another sadist. Didn't go well for him. He's still having to haunt me from time to time. Beg my forgiveness. Sad but true. Fortunes by letters and numbers. The idea that the Hebrew alphabet enshrines the secrets of the universe is one basis of modern numerology, a method of analysing your character which depends on the belief that the letters of your name contain the essential truth about you. You start by turning each letter of your name into a number using the name by which you normally think of yourself, as follows. Here's how you do this. I used to do that a lot, work out my numerology when I was a teenager. So all those letters that correspond with 1, 2, 3, you write it out and then you add it all up. Numbers with 2 digits like 11, 12, 13, so on. You add the 1 and 1 or the 1 and 2, 1 and 3, which will give you a breakdown of the number again, and then you add them all up, and that final number is your master number, the number that signifies your destiny. According to whatever name you're using, whether it's your birth name or if you're a woman, your married name. And it's worthwhile exercise if you're about to get married, find out how your destiny might change for good or ill, and so on and so forth. And as we saw with Napoleon Bonaparte, when he changed his name by dropping the U, his destiny went south then. He lost the battle of, was it the Battle of Hastings he lost? Can't remember now. But anyway, he lost to the English. At Waterloo, the Battle of Waterloo. You know what made me remember that? The song popped into my head. At Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender. That was Spirit jumping and correcting me. Don't give misinformation on your YouTube channel, Tanya La. Okay, I won't, Spirit. Give me the facts and I'll stick to it. I was trying to remember who he lost to, though. It'll pop into my head. I'll give it to me if it's important. Or we could Google it. Google is our friend. I pay a lot of money to have information at the tip of my fingers. I used to know it. I used to know it right. I used to know my history right off the top of my head. I'm slowing down as I age. It's not a good thing, actually. It's a worry. Who did Napoleon lose 2. See what they come up with. The Battle of Waterloo was fought on 18th of June 1815 between Napoleon's French army and a coalition led by the Duke of Wellington and Marshal Blucher. The decisive battle of its age, it concluded a war that had raged for 23 years, it's a bloody long time, ended French attempts to dominate Europe, and destroyed Napoleon's imperial power forever. So it was the Duke of Wellington, the Anglo-Allied army, and the Prussian army under Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher at the Battle of Waterloo. Wow. However, it says here his military career had lasted more than 20 years. He is widely regarded as a military genius, one of the finest commanders in world history. He fought 60 battles and lost only 7, most of these at the end of his career. So it's true, changed his name and everything went south. Well, there you go, people of Earth. The Duke of Wellington. I come from Wellington, New Zealand. And my name's Desiree. I'm the undoing of tyrants everywhere. Take great pride in that, by the way. Don't tyrannise me, and life will go sweet for you. Babies. Right. If my psychiatrist were watching this video, he'd be laughing so much because he actually calls me the reincarnation of Bodicea, the ancient Icenian queen, who almost succeeded in taking down the Holy Roman Empire. After she got a little bit pissed off about the fact that her lands had been stolen from her when her chieftain husband died, and the Romans had raped both her daughters. Can't remember if she too was raped, but because of all that activity, she went on an almighty battle against the Roman legions and killed off 50,000 Romans to her small tribe of warriors. So it's quite a feat. So one does not fuck with the Tanya, but one does also not fuck with my ancient Icenian queen muse Bodicea. Right, but most of the time I'm an easygoing, sweet little darling. Just certain things do not go there, guy friends. Pedophilia, humiliating and degrading me in public in front of your friends and other people at gigs. What else? Don't con artist me, don't take my ever diminishing returns of resources of money, don't take my breath out from under me, don't take my truth, which is a hill I will die on at all times, morning, noon and night. Don't take my freedom, or paint my face blue like Robert the Bruce and the ancient Picts. Go to war on your heads. See also COVID pop, which I was indeed at war with my government most of that time period. Anyway, je ne regrette rien, by the way. Right, we carry on reading about numerology. These letter number equivalents come from the Hebrew alphabet, in which the letters also stood for numbers. Aleph, A for 1, Beit, B for 2, Gimel, G for 3, and so on. Noughts are disregarded so that S, shin, 300 is 3, K, kaf is 20, in Hebrew it represents 20 but is disregarded and becomes 2. There is no 9 in the table because the Hebrew letters which stood for 9, 90 and 900 have no equivalents in our alphabet. Right, that's interesting. Numbers for letters like E and X, which do not exist in Hebrew, are taken from the Greek alphabet, where the letters also stood for numbers. You write down your name with the number equivalents and add up the numbers. The total has 2 or more figures. Add these together and go on in this way until you reach a single figure. For example, William Bateson. I'll show you the table of William Bateson so you can see how it works. If you want to just have fun, do it for yourself at home, people of Earth. Work out what your number is and then you'll have to look it up on Google and numerology what your master number represents. This gentleman is a number 1. The number 1 is the number of the name William Bateson and is supposed to reveal the truth about him. More details will be given in later articles on the individual numbers, which will also consider how each number got its particular meaning. But briefly, if your number is 1, I'm laughing because my number is 1. Anyway, if your number is 1, you are thought to be an exceptionally powerful, positive and dominating person, forceful, aggressive and ambitious. You lead, pioneer, originate and invent. Self-reliant, obstinate, authoritative, you tolerate no rivals and you have few close friends. All accurate so far. You can be kind and generous to people who do what you want. But you have a violent temper and no scruples if opposed. Well, I do have scruples. I'm a trauma survivor. I had to have lots of scruples because I've seen what the unscrupulous can get away with, and I can't abide that, people. All this follows from the fact that 1 is the number of the God of the Old Testament. The number 2, an evil and female number, has all the opposite characteristics. Peoples whose names add to 2 make good subordinates and are obedient, quiet, helpful, gentle, modest, tidy and self-effacing. Sweet-natured, sympathetic and persuasive, they are also oversensitive, easily depressed and unsure of themselves. And since 2 is the number of the devil, they may be subtly malicious, deceitful and cruel. Interesting. 3 is traditionally the luckiest of numbers and belongs to fortunate, lively, sparkling, charming people who easily make money and conquests in love, who are talkative and like to show off, highly talented, witty and gay. Gay meaning cheerful in this instance. They tend to be unduly anxious for other people's approval and lavish their efforts wastefully in too many directions. An American numerologist says that they prefer opera to jazz when living true to their higher nature. 4. number of the earth is distinctly gloomy, and is the number of people who are solid but uninspired, hard-working but plodding, steady, cautious, conservative and conventional. Calm and composed on the surface, there may be violent eruptions of feeling underneath, and also severe indigestion, earthquakes. They are excellent organisers and administrators, but as 4 is essentially the number of poverty, disappointment and defeat, it does not hold out much prospect of success. Those whose number is 5 are clever, jumpy, energetic, optimistic, versatile, impulsive, erratic and irresponsible. Number 5 is a very restless number. Nervous and highly strung, lovers of risks and excitement. They are boastful, quick-tempered, resilient and bouncy. Because 5 is the number of sex, the word sex adds to 5 incidentally. They have lurid love lives. 6 is the number of well-balanced, peaceful, worthy, but rather unexciting people who are warm-hearted, reliable and kindly, but also fussy, gossipy and narrow of outlook. Loyal and affectionate, their interests are centred on home, family and friends. Wholesome and conventional, they dislike upsets or rows of any sort. They work hard but rarely have any flair for business. 7. One of the great magical numbers belongs to people who tend to retreat from the world around them into the privacy of their own reflections. Philosophical and scholarly, they value the things of the mind. They are reserved, serious and dignified, self-controlled, uninterested in money and material pleasures, sometimes sarcastic and aloof. Their ideas are profound, but they find it hard to explain them and are impatient of contradiction or opposition. By contrast, 8 stands for involvement in the rush and bustle of the everyday world and money-making, business, politics. People with this number have the capacity for great worldly success, but also, unfortunately, for disastrous failure. They do not forge ahead easily, but by long effort, strain, and concentration. They can be hard and selfish, grim and determined on the surface, sometimes wildly rebellious and eccentric underneath. Finally, 9 is the number of high achievement, not in the worldly sense, but in spiritual matters. It belongs to people who are high-minded, visionary, energetic, emotional and passionate, who have a sense of duty to others and an intense hatred of poverty, old age and ugliness for themselves and everyone else. Often condemned as wild and impractical, they are easily imposed on and are always falling in and out of love. Chiro, the celebrated palmist, says in his book of numbers that, as a general rule, They undergo many operations by the surgeon's knife, which may have something to do with the fact that 9 is the number of initiation, which in primitive societies frequently involves mutilation of the body. Other numbers in your name. As well as the number given by your whole name, you can add up the consonants in it, this number referring to your outer personality and the impression you make on other people. The total of the vowels in your name is supposed to indicate the person you are at heart. Y is treated as a vowel only if there is no other vowel in the word. In Lynn, it is a vowel. In Henry, a consonant. Interesting. This distinction follows from the fact that written Hebrew and other early alphabets had no vowels. So the consonants which were written down show your outer shell, and the vowels which were concealed, your hidden inner personality. The same fact probably also accounts for the old idea that vowels are particularly sacred and magical, more mysterious and important than the consonants, which everyone could see written down, the soul hidden in the body of the consonants. Gnostic mystical theorists of the Eastern Mediterranean area in the early centuries after Christ, Gnosticism originated in the same area and at the same period as the Kabbalah, were sometimes peculiarly addicted to vowels. One of their versions of the name of God was, in English letters, I-A-U-U-E, I-A-O-O-U-E-E. Don't even know how to pronounce that properly. I guess it's supposed to say Yahweh, but it's done with vowels. There are many obvious objections to numerology of which numerologists take little notice. One of them is that all who share the same name also share the same character, including, of course, the same vowel and consonant totals. However, this is modified by the fact that numerologists bring in another number, the birth number, which is found by adding up your date of birth. Thus, 18/5/1935 adds to 32, which equals 5. The birth number is meant to show your basic underlying characteristics, the foundation on which you stand, or the reason for which you came on earth. I think in my birth number I'm a 3, if I remember correctly. How you can develop yourself and what you should do. This number has to be considered as well as the other numbers in analysing your character. If you find yourself really fascinated, you can take the number of each letter in your name one by one and consider its influence on your life and fortunes. See also numerology and articles on the numbers from 1 to 9 plus 11, 12, 13 and 40, written by Richard Cavendish. Further reading. For the history of the alphabet, see David Diringer's fascinating books, The Alphabet, published by Funk and Wagnalls, and Writing, Its Origins and Early History, published by Prager, 1962. For runes, see Ralph W.V. Elliott, Runes, in brackets, or published rather, by the Philosophical Library, 1959. For words of power and for numerology, Richard Cavendish, The Black Arts, published by Putnam in 1967. Before we end for the evening, because I'm growing quite tired, people of Earth, I'll show you the picture of the various alphabets. The mysterious characters of letters delivered by Honorius, called the Theban alphabet, which is this one on top here, the Theban alphabet. And below that we have the characters of the celestial writing, which I think was what John Lee was writing his texts in, his angelic texts. And I think, I may be wrong. And below that we have the writing called Malachim, which you can see has a lot of Hebrew influences in it, Hebrew script. Also a bit pictographic, that one looks like a menorah almost. And below we have the writing called Pulsing the River, and also quite pictographic. So rather fascinating. Oh, I'm getting dizzy, I really am quite tired. Okay, beautiful people of planet Earth, we'll finish up there and we'll come back tomorrow or some other time in the space-time continuum, depending where I'm at with life and what I'm doing. I want to finish my cuff tomorrow, but apparently it's going to rain, which is annoying because I like to put the birdies out in the garden while I'm soldering, so I don't want to expose them to any fumes. So I may not be able to solder tomorrow. Have to work around it. But anyway, tomorrow's entry that we will begin reading, which will be fascinating but also probably a bit dark and depressing also, is titled Black Magic and Witchcraft. But that's for another day. So, now where did I read up to? Alphabet, and I read from, where did I start? All Hallows Eve, because I like to put that as the title of the video when it's published. Right. Blessed be, good night from Titania's realm in sacred space, wherever you are in the space-time continuum, whether here in physical 3D reality with your feet firmly planted on the ground, people of Earth, or if you are from other dimensions visiting our Earth or coming from within our inner Earth, wherever you are, however it works, I wish you shalom, peace, harmonic resonance, love, light, truth, and yes, joy and love with the ones that you're destined to be with, and your communities and all tribes, whatever little groups that you belong to that include you and welcome you within their familial constructs. And yes, let there be joy and healing and prosperity and peace and good luck and creativity and delight with our little ones, those of you that have children and grandchildren, and delight with our non-human little ones. In my case, my little boy's in the studio there, sleeping now. And yes, blessed be. Good night from sacred space. And I've knocked down my mouse so I can't click us off. Well, yes, I can. I can do it because it clicks us off every time I accidentally press this. So, bye for now.